Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here to debut The Last of Us Season 1, Episode 7, Left Behind. One thing that I feel that I have to state about this title specifically is there could have probably been something they could have left behind as far as really going in depth for this episode. They really could have made it a shorter episode, maybe, I don't know. But instead, they really went on and no, we're going to milk this for all it's worth, this one. So, we come into this episode and we find that Joel is still injured, of course, in the last episode. And Joel is telling Ellie, it's like, well, hey, go off without me. And Ellie is immediately just like, oh yeah, I'm going to completely go off without you through most of this episode, as I'm going to have a flashback to my whole entire life without you in it. And so, in all honesty, there were certain things that are kind of running through my mind as I was having so much free time during this episode. So, there was a couple of nicknames, like the Nap of Us, the Mortal Kombat of Us, the Take a Lap of Us. That was just a bunch of nicknames that I was tossing around during this episode. We have me also rattle off just some idea that just kind of popped in my brain about what if we had a sleepwalker zombie apocalypse kind of thing. That sounds like a kind of just goofy comedic idea, but hey, wouldn't it just be interesting to have sleepwalkers, a whole entire town just of sleepwalkers that just run rampant during the night. You would have people that are working night shifts and whatever and can't sleep, and they would just cause chaos for this town, and it would just be kind of this funny thing. And and of course you wouldn't be able to just murder or kill any of these people, but it would just be really interesting to just kind of see how that plays out consistently. So, especially if these sleepwalkers go on and kill people during the night, then it would just be oh well, yeah, but we can't really have you be a person that did this because you're sleepwalking. It shouldn't be your fault, right? So or maybe it will be their fault, and it's just well, yeah, you should have just chained yourself up to your bed. Anyways, but goofy idea, tossing it out there because nothing better to do for this episode. So Ellie goes on to be kind of sent to the principal's office in this episode. She goes on to have at some point re-meet up with her friend who's been gone for a couple weeks, and we come to find out that Ellie is to go to this abandoned mall with Riley to kind of see some things that she's never seen before, and we call them the Five Wonders. So if anybody is to go on oh yeah, I remember this part in the game, then yeah, you'll probably know how slow this episode will be. This episode was just man, if I could have watched the first scene and the last scene, I think it would have been good, and really realized that this episode really just goes nowhere. There were certain parts of this episode where it gave me flashbacks, because it was oh yeah, I saw that part in the game. Oh yeah, I saw this, and so that, of course, I could remember. Especially the masks part, I did remember that specifically, and I was oh yeah, this is a scene where that happens, and so I was great. This is still boring though. So with that said, let's just go on and let's double five this bad boy out, because I think it's about that time yet again to, of course, go into spoiler time. It's about that time again to spoil this episode, because there wasn't much. Well, if anything, it felt anything that I did say already felt like I'm spoiling the whole entire episode. So Joel, of course, is hurt and he's at this just kind of home they just found somewhere. And so Ellie is just kind of putting Joel in this mattress, just kind of like, hey man, hopefully you don't die and bleed out, whatever. Hopefully everything's gonna be cool. And so Joel goes on and is to tell Ellie to just like, hey, just leave, just go north, just find Tommy. And Ellie just goes on and leaves. And so I'm like, I'm sorry, like, isn't that gonna take like a couple of days to get back to Tommy? And that is especially with Ellie not even knowing where she's going, so she's probably gonna get lost. So we immediately have Joel. It's like, okay, well, you're a lost cause. You're gonna be dead. So, but it seems that Ellie doesn't go on and leave Joel just yet. And so we immediately get a flashback of Ellie's life. So we come to find that she is like playing this Walkman and she's taking these laps. We all of a sudden have Bethany, who I guess because we have nothing better to do also in this episode, Bethany is a really good looking gal. I don't really know how old she is, but like Bethany is a good looking gal. She's married and has 7 kids. Oh, I didn't know. But so anyways, we have Bethany who comes in and is to quickly become, I guess, Ellie's bully, kind of smacking away these headphones. And Ellie's like, well, hey, what'd you do? Why did you do that for? And Bethany went on to just treat Ellie like crap because her protector is gone, who of course is Riley. So Ellie goes on to then punch Bethany in the face, which is to basically take her to the principal's office. The principal, of course, is to be Captain Kwong, who is basically just the one guy that I guess if there's a disciplinary action thing, like just send him to the old Capitan, the old Capitan. You know what I'm saying? So, Capitan Kwong. I don't know, I'm just riffing here. So, we have the captain that is talking to Ellie. It's like, well, hey, like, Ellie, like you're smart and you're this and you're that, and you're luckily one of our like roles that really is focused here. You're probably getting a pretty sweet paycheck at the end of all this. So the captain's to go on and state to Ellie, it's like, well, hey, like, life is gonna turn out for you in 2 different ways. We go on and we have Ellie who can get orders from people like Bethany, or Ellie can go on and become an officer and go on and give orders to a person like Bethany and treat her like crap. And so we have the captain who tells Ellie, it's like, well, hey, blue pill, red pill, what do you choose? This is the Matrix all over again. You choose the red pill, you stay in La La Land. You choose the blue pill, you can hopefully just take a dump when you go to the toilet. So we have Ellie that's like, well, of course I want to be an officer, because whatever else can I go on and do? And so the captain's like, yeah, I thought that's what it would be. So we have Ellie, after talking to the Capitan, is to make her way to her room after this is all said and done. And so she's reading this comic book, which we, I guess, could have realized that she is a comic book reader from episodes before, with the kid who, of course, was to be like the red faced painted kid that died sadly. And so she's like, "Oh yeah, these issues and those issues." Flashback from that episode, right? So we, of course, have Ellie, who is to be told she's gonna get all these like crappy jobs, like up at dawn, all these goofy things. So we have Ellie that is to go on and say it's like, well, hey, like I guess I should get some sleep because I'm gonna have to go on and do whatever they want me to do next, like train me in how to kill the fireflies. So Ellie just starts sleeping to all of a sudden have somebody come in her window, and I'm like, man, like you would think that with a zombie apocalypse, you would be like, hey man, let's secure all these windows. let's put some definitely some barbed wire or some kind of like thing so no one can get in and no one can get out. You know what I mean? Because people be sneaking during the night. So we come to find out that a person that is sneaking into Riley's place, and it's not a zombie infection thing because that would have actually been exciting. We come to find that it is to be Ellie's friend Riley, and she had been gone for a couple of weeks. So we have Ellie who is talking to Riley. It's like, well, hey, yeah, like I got recruited from the Yellow Jackets because I met some girl. She was in like her 40s or her 50s. Maybe she was in her 60s. Maybe she was 800 years old. Who knows? She couldn't tell by the color of hair what kind of age scale she was. So it seems. So Riley ended up getting recruited by the Fireflies, and so Riley is telling Ellie how cool it is and everything like that. So we have Riley that is wanting Ellie to come with her, and Ellie's like, well, hey, I gotta be up in a couple hours. And Riley's like, well, how about you just instead like spend a couple hours with me? And so Ellie's like, I guess. So they go out together because Riley's like promising like surprises and balloon animals and an infected that's probably gonna kill her. And so they make their way to this abandoned mall after they've gone on and kind of snuck around and like almost got caught by one of these cars or like Humvees or whatever driving around. And Ellie tells Riley, it's like, oh yeah, I guess the Fedra aren't as stupid as you thought they were. So they make their way to this abandoned mall, and they crawl down to this spot where it's the electricity, and they turn the electrical room and they turn that on. And so Ellie makes her way through this door down this hallway, and by the time that she is to be at this kind of scaffolding, she all of a sudden starts to see all these stores come to life as if they were to, of course, been dead for a number of probably years. So we have Riley explaining how this mall is to have electricity because we would go on and find out that like Fedra base has electricity, so does this mall, because I guess it's all tied to a certain like circuit breaker or whatever. So like it's all tied to the same like block of electricity. So we have Riley that turns all this on, and so they start going through this mall, and we have Ellie that's asking Riley, it's like, well, yeah, like, why does it seem that this place is so, like, empty and whatever? And we have Riley stating, like, well, obviously, like, there's a lot of people who went on and, like, looted, and, like, they would get, like, the essentials. And so, in really thinking about it, like, remembering, like, the pandemic, where, pandemic, where we would find, like, everybody was, like, taking, like, toilet paper like nobody's business, and, like, getting, like, certain essentials, like wipes and all these, like, everything had to go, like, skyrocket in prices for certain things because everybody was, like, grabbing up certain things. Like, I guess nobody really needed anything else but toilet paper. So, we have Ellie that looks and she's like, well, yeah, I guess everybody was buying up sneakers instead of soap. And so, yeah, I guess that's a real necessity for eventually sneakers will run out a lot quicker than soap will. And so they make their way through this mall, and the first thing they end up seeing, of course, is the escalator. And we have Ellie that's like, oh my god, is this, like, stairs move? Oh my god, is this some ride? Oh. And so Ellie is just having a heck of a time with the escalator. She's like, oh my god, like, this is, like, mind-blowingly amazing. And, like, you know what, if I honestly was Bella, I would just be like, man, I seriously have to, like, do this kind of in this episode, where I'm like, oh my god, I've never experienced this before, when I have. Man, that has got to be, like, the toughest performance, to make it seem that you're so excited about stuff that you would, like, take for granted because you could do it all the time. With the exclusion of now probably being a possible celebrity, and then you'll probably never be able to go out ever again. Anywhere, because you'll get mobbed by people, and like, hey man, selfie, autograph, something, sign my arm. Can you bite into it too? And hope I don't get infected or whatever sickness is going around. Anyways, so that would be a weird freaking thing for a celebrity to, like, to have it be a thing. Bite in my arm, yeah. No, how about I don't? So, like, I'll get it tattooed. Why? So, why am I even talking about this? Because free time in this one. So, Ellie is to be like, wow, escalator. And she's playing around with it. She even, like, trips and almost falls on Riley. So, Ellie was so just blown away by an escalator that she was like, oh my god, is that one of the wonders? And Riley's like, sure, that'll be the fifth wonder of the world now. So, we then have to drag this out even more, because we haven't done enough dragging yet. Big old dragon going out. We go on to then have Riley, who's taking Ellie, and it's like, okay, like, close your eyes and hold my hand, and hopefully you won't get attacked by a zombie. So, we have them both walking to a certain place, and we come to find out that they have made their way to, I believe it's called a carousel. Is it carousel? The thing where the horses go round and round while the music plays, the elevator music of sorts. Like, I always get the goofy amusement park rides, I always get them confused, except for, like, a roller coaster, that's obvious. Because there's always, like, tilt-a-whirls, and there are all kinds of other goofy, weird things. And also thinking about it, this is also to remind me of Zombieland when they would go to, like, Pacific Playland. because that's of course where the kids would want to go to hope that they can just kind of have fun instead of being in the zombie apocalypse. So we would have them just enjoying the horse ride and whichever. And so we all of a sudden go on to have the ride stop for whatever reason, and we have Riley that's like, well, hey man, like I'm gonna go on and I'm gonna fix this. And so we have Riley and Ellie, they just transition to what will be the next wonder, which of course will be the arcade. We come to find out that I guess these people are made of money because money is a waste now. So I guess bartering would probably be a much more lucrative thing to do in what this world is now, much more so than, hey, here's money. No, like, that looks like a really cool watch. Those look like really nice boots, but they're the only ones that I'm wearing. Tough. I want some of them boots. So they look real pretty. So we then go on to have them go to this arcade. I'm like, how is this not the noisiest thing ever? If there is infected in this mall, because we have Ellie and Riley bickering about like Fedra and the Fireflies while they're making their way to the mall, and Ellie's like, well, yeah, like the Fedra told us to not go into that mall because supposedly it has too many infected in there, and it's like, no, like they just said that so that way no one would loot the mall. So that way they can like keep that to themselves. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna send a team out there to scavenge so we can kind of pick that mall clean without anybody noticing whatsoever. So we have Ellie and we have Riley that go to the mall and go to the arcade, and so we come to find that they're like, well, like, we don't have any money. How can we go on and play these games? And so, like, we have Ellie that's just going to this car thing and she's just driving it, even though they're not really actually playing any of it, obviously, because it's just a demo that's going on. So, Riley was, of course, to have been here a time before and went to the arcade. And so she broke into this machine to get all these coins so they can play all these games. I'm like, of course, how convenient. So we then have them go on and go to the one game that it seems that they only had rights for, instead of just playing any kind of cool things. No. Like, we have to play the game that we definitely have the rights for. So they play Mortal Kombat, because of course they do. And so I was like, yeah, Ellie, finish him, and this and that, and fatalities and whatever. We just find out that Ellie has no clue how to play Mortal Kombat, so she's basically getting annihilated by Riley, of course, because she's never played a video game before. So after that, they, of course, have this argument between one another, and so Ellie's like, well, hey, like, why did you bring me here? And Riley's like, well, because, like, I'm leaving soon. So we go on to have both Ellie and Riley that go to the place where Riley has been sleeping, and so we come to find out that she's been here for a couple of days, and we have Ellie that is to find all of these, like, pipe bombs And Ellie's like, "Oh my god! Like, were you gonna go on and like attack our base because like you're basically like the Sith to our Jedi. So the Fedra and the Fireflies, like, they're against one another. So like we're really going on here, and we're like drawing conclusions that maybe this was either for infected, or this was for breaking into Fedra to try to steal from them. Hence the pipe bombs or whatever. And these look like pipe bombs, of course, from like Left 4 Dead. That's what it looked like to me. So Ellie's very upset about like, oh yeah, like the Fireflies, they aren't to be all that like dangerous and whatever, but you have all these explosives right next to you. So Ellie and Riley were really just starting to see like they're conflicting more. And Ellie's like, you know what, like I gotta go back to bed, like, or I gotta get up now, and like I gotta go and do what I normally do. So Ellie just starts to go off, and she all of a sudden hears this noise where she hears the screaming, and then so she's like, oh no, like this could be Riley, as we had at some point during both Ellie and Riley going on and playing this arcade game, we would come to find a infected that is kind of waking up from his stupor. So we'd also gone on to find that both Ellie and Riley had found a dead guy while they were trying to make their way to the mall, and they found out that he had like hooch and like drugs that he probably like took together and just killed himself, and so, or deaded himself, whatever. Anyways, so they were drinking the hooch, they were trying to get drunk, and they're like, yeah, this tastes yucky and whatever, like all like goofy crappy stuff that we of course have people go on and state when they don't like alcohol. So we have, of course, Ellie that makes her way into this place that is kind of making this sound, and come to find out it's just some Halloween thing that is to just kind of be this like Jack in the Box like thing that kind of keeps spouting up and down. And so we come to find that Riley is in there, and she states to Ellie that it's like, well, yeah, like I was wanting to have this be like the last hurrah for the both of us, because I knew that you would like this place the most. And so we have Riley breaks to Ellie that she's leaving, and so we of course have Ellie who's like, well, hey, I thought you were dead and this and that, and now like you came back, just tell me that you're leaving. So by the end of this, they decide to kind of like throw this this little dance four-way between the two of them. They go on and they find these Halloween masks, they put them on. So by the end of this, we have Ellie that takes off her Halloween mask, and so does Riley. And we, of course, have Ellie that tells Riley, don't go, and they kiss. Which I'm like, this is not a surprise to me, because I already knew where this was heading. So, because of course I would go on and see some Last of Us stuff. So, before all this. So now, we have, of course, finally, infected is now a thing, and so the infected, I'm assuming that this one's probably a clicker, because it looks like a mushroom head almost, so it's quasi clicker. So we have this clicker that goes on to grab onto, of course, Ellie, and then Riley tries to defend, Ellie. And so this is kind of like the back and forth. They are to find these kind of random things to kind of hit this zombie. It all ends with Ellie, who is to have this knife and jabs the zombie in the head, and that's how they kill it. And this, of course, also reminds me of when Riley was to first see Ellie again, and Ellie had that shiner from Bethany when they had the fight, and Riley's going on and asking Ellie, it's like, well, hey, like, who was the person that beat you? Who was the person that hit you? And Ellie states, like, well, hey, like, that was Bethany, and she got hers. And so we go on to have Riley, who's like, well, hey, like, you can't just go on and just fight everybody. And, like, at some point you need to come up with, like, a different strategy at some point. Like, you need to come up with something. So, by the moment after this infected that they were with, they realize that both of them are to have been bitten. We have Ellie that sees that she has an arm wound. She's like, no! Wipe it off! No! Undo! Like, as if you're gonna get a all of a sudden, like, try again screen, and you're like, oh, okay, alright, like, let's do this level all over again. So, we also kind of find out that, like, Riley has a bite, like, right here on her hand. And so, like, yeah, like, I got bit too. It's like, yeah, that's what happens when you don't have long sleeves and gloves in a zombie apocalypse, huh? Like, that's what happens when you get attacked by an infected when you aren't prepared. When you're not, like, to the gills with just stuff that you're wearing to protect you during an apocalypse. Like, if you're not going out of your house in, like, football gear, you're basically effed. Like, head to toe, covered, and, like, you will win zombie apocalypse. So, both of them are realizing that their lives are over in just a matter of time. So, we have Riley that is coming up with, like, okay, like, just like the captain from before, we have Riley that's like, okay, we can take a certain number of options, we can go on, and we can, one, take the easy way out, because she's looking at this gun, he's like, might have to do a pow, you know what I'm saying? But we, of course, have Riley that's like, yeah, I don't like that option. And so they're thinking like, well, what we could go on and do is we can just ride this out. Like, for however long, like, we can just, like, maybe become infected and see where that takes us. And it could be, like, 2 minutes or it could be 2 days, but, like, we could really see, like, how quickly we just become a mushroom at some point. So, like, it seems like they're going to head that direction because that would make the most sense, because for Ellie to find out that she's immune, yeah, that had to have worked out that way. So, we go on to have Ellie, who is back in the same house where Joel is, and so she goes on to find this needle and thread, and she sews up Joel, and I'm assuming that everything is to just work out after that. So, I'm assuming whether we're going to go on and probably cover more of this in the next episode to just milk this out more, because we have, like, 2 episodes left of this season. So, yeah, like, definitely hoping that we're going to do something in this show. The slow of us, I don't know, but I'm going to get out of here, try to make this one as brief as possible compared to any of the other ones where just, man, I have so much to tell you, even though there's really nothing going on. So that's it. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.